It's April 21st, 2021. It's a Wednesday. I haven't been out here since Saturday. It's been cold again. It's 10 or 12 C now. It's about 4:30 in the afternoon. And the apiary is abuzz. Very nice to see. The forecast is good for tomorrow too, but then again another cool off. So we get a couple days warm and we get a bunch of days cold. It's still April. Don't complain too much, right? Well, let's look around here a little bit. I just come out to see if there's still lids on everything and pails don't blow away or anything like that. So I like to eyeball the place every day if I can, but there's a lot of days I don't. So let's have a look around. That's kind of an encouraging sight. There are very, very few bees taking interest in that pollen substitute. And that means the natural pollen is coming in. You can look at a few hives here. And right away I see if we can see some pollen. I don't really see any coming in at the moment. They usually stop as soon as I take notice. Well, there's one. There's one on my arm with a little bit of very tan pollen. Let's see what else we have. Yeah, I see some pollen coming in. Again, as soon as you stop to take notice, they stop what they're doing. I saw some coming in here. Look, they're on the ground there with pollen in the grass. They come in so heavy, I guess they can't hit the landing board just right. Not much of a landing board on my hives anyway. Walking around there with pollen. There's some on the front of this one. I should take the feeder away just to make sure that I'm not just seeing the substitute coming in. Get all excited. Oh, look, substitute. There's pollen coming in and it's coming out of my feeder. That wouldn't be good. I'm glad to see this is dried up. This was a wet mess when I was here on Saturday. I had to cut these little channels to drain the puddles. The bees were dying in the water. So that worked. It's dried up. And now I have tripping hazards in my apiary. Yay. Remember this one? There wasn't much in it and I put newspaper and queen excluder. Now we have a look. Look at the bees. Okay, there's something crazy going on here. I have no protection on, so I need to be very careful. Look at that. There was almost nothing in here. Okay. I need to leave them alone. I can't dig in there. I have nothing. I don't even have a hive tool in my hand. That's quite amazing, isn't it? That's 5 days. No, that might be the strong colony below just coming up for syrup. Who knows? Well, if that's what it is, so be it, right? Polynukes usually do well. Some of these are just total boomers. Some way better than others, but it's still muddy here. The jars are going way down. Look at that one, that's empty. They don't need any more. If they've emptied that jar, they don't need any more. Not right now. We've got lots. Oh, they're banging into me, telling me to buzz off. This is the minis. I've got feed jars on here. Hard to do beekeeping with one hand. So, still lots in the feed jars, which I would expect. And it's good that there is, because that means they're not just leaking everywhere. Well, that's just a quick update in the apiary. And back to the wood shop. I'm in the midst of a big project in there again. Unfortunately, nothing that's too interesting. I mean, I'll show you a little bit of it, but that's all. We'll get back to the wood shop and I'll catch you up with what's happening. Look up. Look way up. So that's 20 of those quad minis ready for dipping. And less than 20 bottom boards. 3/8 shim, a couple of cleats. Pretty standard stuff. Oh, I got a toy here. Let me show you my toy. This is my 1970s vintage, somewhere in the 70s, 1975-ish, I think. Craftsman 12-inch radial arm saw. I've been doing a lot of cross-cutting with this machine for my projects, and I'm absolutely in love with it. It glides so beautifully, and it's powerful, and it cuts beautifully. It's accurate. It's dead on every time. And these are not an expensive saw, because a lot of people are scared of them. If you don't know a radial arm saw, they were sold, well, they were invented in 1922 by DeWalt. And through the 50s, 60s, 70s, even in the 80s, they were built by most manufacturers. Craftsman, Sears Craftsman sold tons of them. Black & Decker sold a bunch. Ryobi, DeWalt. DeWalt has a huge following in these. They're regarded as some of the best ones. However, they were sold as a precursor, actually, to a sliding compound miter saw. You've seen me use my sliding compound miter saw many times on my videos. Because they'll do anything. They will do just about anything a table saw will do. They'll take a dado blade. They can be turned. You can see the table is sacrificial. It cuts into the table every time, because the table doesn't move with the saw like a sliding compound miter saw. So this saw head will pivot, and it'll go sideways. So then you can rip boards this way, You can tilt the saw head to make bevel cuts. You can pivot the whole turret to make, see, you make miter cuts. You can actually tilt that head so that the blade is spinning perfectly horizontal, and you can put shaper cutters, like a great big router, and then you can make moldings and stuff. Some of these operations I would never do. Be very unsafe. Ripping I would never do. It looks like this guy did a lot of ripping, but oh, I would never do that. It even has a little thing on this end. You have to take that off, and it's a screw on. You can put a drill chuck on there for, I guess you make a little drill press out of it. I guess they were selling these as the do all unit. Not very many of them are 12-inch. Most of them are 10-inch. And I'm sure glad I got the 12. It's a very powerful and very capable machine. Very capable of cutting your arm off too, if you're not careful. So something happened. I've had this, I don't know, a couple weeks, 3 weeks. And something happened yesterday. I kind of fell in love with this saw so much that I actually bought another one. So this is very similar. I don't know how different in year this is. It's very close to the same year. It's a 10-inch though. It's much smaller. Much smaller. I'm surprised. Even the stand is smaller and lower. Everything is smaller on it. And I did some cross cutting. I was not impressed by the power, but I think that blade's pretty dull. So this one had a pretty nasty table on it. So I'm going to do kind of like the 12-inch. I have an old tabletop here, and I'm going to fit that to it. So that'll make a nice hard surface for the saw. Nice slick, to move your material around on. Everything. So anyway, they're so inexpensive that I couldn't pass this up. I know I should have, but I didn't. So the big one runs on 220 volt. I had to make a cord here for it. It's a beast. Boy, I love this saw, and this guy kept it so nice. It's like new. This is a 45-year-old saw, something like that, and it runs and cuts like it was brand new. It's not plugged in right now. I'm not going to start it up. You have to wear your hearing protection. That blade spinning, it makes such a piercing racket that you really need ear protection, eye protection too, of course. So this table I want to replace as well. I find that when I'm working, I'm getting caught in these cuts, and I have no inclination to make cuts like this, especially these rip cuts. This is ridiculous. I would never rip on this machine. Well, I have a nice table saw, right? So not everybody does. So I have no inclination to make miter cuts even with all these. So I'll just have one line in this table. And the nice thing is, I want to make a little higher fence too. I think this fence is unreasonably short. But that blade then cuts through the fence, and then you have this one kerf through the fence. So then when you're lining up your work material, you slide that thing right over here to that kerf, and bang on is where it's going to cut, because that saw made that kerf. So you know that it's going to cut perfectly every time. So anyway, that's my toy. And boy, do I love it. I love this big old saw. It really works well. I love to have the chance to come and cross-cut material over here on it. The table saw is fantastic for ripping. My miter saw was good for cross-cutting. This thing is fantastic. And this big table is great. This is 6 feet side to side. So I just set a stop block there for now. I was cutting some shorter material. And yeah, it works really great. The guy even had little wheels for it, so it's on wheels. Can move it around for now until I find a permanent home. So there you go. 1975 Craftsman 12-inch radial arm saw. Love it.